Hi everyone, my name is Patricia or Patricia. I use the she series for my pronouns. And I'm one of the L&S mentors. I've been a mentor since January, and I'm a third-year PhD student in the Theater, Dance, and Performance Studies program with a designated emphasis in the Women and Gender Studies program. So yeah, today, let me screen share really fast first. So as I was saying before, I think the reason that I got tapped for this webinar, conversation, whatever you want to call it, is because I've been developing a tip series for our website on how to, stay focused at home, different self-care tips, and I'll show you on our website where you can access them. And now we're starting to produce more videos on that stuff. So we're just going to focus a little bit about, ways to stay focused and motivated. But before that, I just want us to all take a deep breath, because this week has been a lot, and the fact that y'all are here is really great. And, I think that sometimes we can be just so overwhelmed with stuff that we, sometimes aren't able to show up. But I think that, hopefully things that you'll learn today will help you in that. And I think making time for looking for tips on how to just manage things better is one of the best things you can do for yourself. So yeah, let me get into it. Okay, so for those who don't know, these are the mentors. We are essentially just kind of part of the larger L&S advising team, but we are all PhD students, and we offer office hours, we offer webinars, we have a bunch of kind of content that we've been recently producing for the website. So this is who we are. We're kind of meant to be like a bridge between, proper, UMAs, so undergraduate mentor or major advisor, who can do degree checks, and, they could be yes, this class fulfills, X requirement. We are here to be oh, you want to go to grad school? Let's talk about that process. Or you think you want to double major, but you're not exactly sure. Let's talk it through. Things like that, that we can really speak to based off of our firsthand experience, that we have just recently, gone through all of these sorts of things before and are successful in that, we all have been accepted to PhD programs at Cal. So that's us. So I know that some people have been introducing themselves in the chat. It would be nice, just to kind of share with each other a little bit of vulnerability around what's bringing us in today. And I will share as well, right? So for me, I think part of my being focused has been challenged by my anxiety. And I have a lot of anxiety because I focus too much on long-term, and I don't focus enough on the present, right? So I keep thinking about all the many things that I haven't done that I have to do, instead of just being in the moment, being present, thinking about what I have been able to do during the day. And so I'm working on it as well. I definitely think it's a challenge, all of us adjusting on how to work from home and stuff. So if people just want to take some time and share with each other, we'll realize that we're not so alone in our feelings about these sorts of things. And yeah, it's a hard transition for sure.
Yeah, I could say something really quickly. I think just for me personally, I think just staring at a screen for work and school and lectures and all that is really tiring. And I feel after a certain point with 2-hour lectures, I just get really tired of just, I just can't focus after a while. So I think trying to see if there's anything, apart, some stretching. I'll try to stretch every once in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's one of the main things.
For sure. Thank you for sharing. I think some people have been calling that like Zoom fatigue, which is so real. Your eyes get tired after a while. It's funny, you could like go through a Netflix binge and be like, I'm cool looking at the screen, but then once it's like you're really focusing, right, it's a different kind of engagement with the screen, being in class all day, and then also, you know, many times producing your work on the same screen. Yeah, for sure. So I will move on, but you know, please feel free to keep sharing or whatever. Okay, so, all right. I'm going to be honest, I learned this with my therapist because I think, and we're all big proponents of this, the mentors, about seeking out therapy when you need it, and also just in general, right, to have somebody else to kind of, you know, bounce your feelings off of. And it can be hard when you're, you know, living with family and friends and they are your support system, and the kind of like extra emotional labor that is happening right now, sometimes it can be a bit too much. So I learned this with my therapist because of the anxiety, like I said, that I have. When my anxiety kicks in is usually when I would do, right, this listing of gratitude. And then she told me today that it's best practice to start your day this way, right? It's about setting up your mindset with the kind of, you know, gratitude that you have. So listing 5 things that you're thankful for, whether you speak them, whether you write them down, they can be the same 5 things for, you know, every day for a while. And then, you know, you can add something new as you go along, or whatever it means for you, right? And so doing this in the morning helps set your brain up for, you know, the rest of the day, so that we don't focus and lean into the negativity right away, right? Because something that she said was, we can't control our first thought, right? So our first thoughts are often, you know, very much shaped sometimes by like what other people say, or just, you know, they just pop in, and we have no control over that. But the second thought we do, right? And so we can either affirm that first thought, right? And if it's a negative one, we don't want to do that. We want to find a way, right, to kind of like control our response to that kind of thought that pops into our mind, and respond to it with something that isn't so negative, right? And so that is how, like, I could say, I haven't done enough today, right? For example, that could just come into my mind. And instead of being like, yeah, you haven't done enough today, I could be like, you are trying your best, right? You have done something today, and you're making the best out of these circumstances, right? And we're going to try again tomorrow, right? So it's about kind of like this reframing that is really important. And it can be hard to not like spiral into those thoughts. But, you know, if you start off with gratitude, and if those thoughts creep into your mind and you come back to the list of gratitude, right, it's a way of constantly trying to reinforce that for yourself. So, you know, I could be like anxious about teaching, right, because I'm teaching for the first time this semester, and, you know, it's virtual, and that's a whole thing. But I could be like, I'm doing my best. I'm present for my students, right? Like those kinds of things, just for example. And then I told her, well, you know, is it kind of contradictory, right, to be thinking about all that stuff with all these things going on in the world, right? Is that insensitive? And then she's like, we can still have gratitude in times of despair. And I was like, well, damn, that's facts. Like, I just, you know, sometimes I think when there's so much going on, we want to be present, we want to have empathy, we want to, you know, all that kind of stuff. But we can also still be really grateful for the fact that we're here, that we're trying, that we do have success in whatever things are happening in our lives, and that we do have joy, right, at the same time. So, yeah. And the other thing that she said, that I also have been saying as well, is that we still have the daily things that we can do, right? Life is still going on, and we have to hope, right, that this isn't going to last forever, right? So we can't give up on being our best selves and building up like the kind of person we want to be, the future we want to have. So that means, right, still engaging with our everyday things the best way that we can, understanding that we might not be as productive or we might not be as motivated because, you know, you love studying in the library and studying from home is so hard because the sofa's right there or whatever, but you're trying, right? So some study skills that we have, right? Like first things first, in the morning, you want to get dressed for the day, get out of your pajamas, you know, signal to yourself that it's time to get to work, right? Always eat something, even if you're not like super hungry, like appetites can be a little funny right now, but even if it's just like a piece of toast, just make sure that you're fueling your body, right? Using study techniques like Pomodoro is really good because it can help you manage your time and be a little bit more, you know, cognizant of how you're spending your time while you're studying. Because, you know, sometimes you feel like, oh my God, you know, 5 hours just passed by. What did I do? So something like this, and if you type that in, right, they have a bunch of little apps that help you track your time. It's one way for you to be like, okay, I tangibly did these many sets of Pomodoro. So it's basically 25 minutes of studying, 5 minutes break, 25 minutes study, and then that's one set. And so then you can kind of tangibly say, okay, in this amount of time, I did this amount of work, right? And those breaks, right, are meant to help folks who easily get distracted, right? So the other technique that usually it's one of the other people mostly fall into is the power hour, which you can also Google. And so that one sometimes is too much time focused, right? The Pomodoro allows for little breaks, right? A little breath, a little like, oh, I can get up and go get a glass of water or whatever. Putting your phone on silent is huge, right? Unless you know like something is going on in your life and you have to have it on, no doubt. But I think for me, like if I see my phone's on airplane mode or something like that, I'm more likely to be like, okay, and put it back down than I am if it's just there and I see all the notifications and I can just swipe into Instagram or whatever. And I think the thing is, right, about putting boundaries around the things that we have to do is the biggest thing. So it takes discipline, right, for you to be like, no, these are the 3 hours in my day that I have set up for studying. And if I focus, right, and do the best that I can during these 3 hours, I'll get what I need to done or most of it. And then I can have, right, my phone time later or whatever the case may be, right? More often than not, the stuff that you want to see is going to be there in 2 or 3 hours, right? And again, unless like there's something pressing in your life or anything like that, you know, try this out, you know. Invest in nice writing materials, you know. So I'm a kind of aesthetic person out here, you know. I have 2 little containers full of like colorful highlighters and, you know, markers. And so I'm out here, like I have nice notebooks. And so it feels good, you know, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but the feeling of writing with a really nice pen, it's like lush. I love it. And so it makes it feel like, you know, better to take notes. It's a personal thing maybe, but I feel like y'all understand what I'm talking about, right? Like if you're into what you're doing, then it makes it easier to want to kind of engage with it, right? I have a stress ball that I keep on my desk that, you know, every time I start to feel myself feeling stressed, right, or those like little anxious mannerisms that we sometimes have, I'll just pull this out and I'll just start, you know, using it. And it's just nice to have. I think everyone needs a little something that they can sometimes fidget with when they have these like kind of excess kind of energies in them. And also knowing, right, like when this isn't enough, when all of the things that you have like in your toolbox aren't enough and you actually just need to step away, maybe go for a walk, maybe take a shower, you know, maybe a power nap, something to kind of reset yourself and then come back to it. Okay, so being realistic, know yourself and know your limits, right? So this is huge. I am an afternoon night person. I am trash at working in the morning. So even if I woke up at like 9 a.m. every morning, my most productive times are in the afternoon. So this is something really important for you to know about yourself. And no one had told me about this, even though I kind of intuitively knew that I was working so much better at night. I would try and force my work in the morning. And so what we suggest as a L&S mentor team is for you to kind of track when you kind of just gravitate towards doing better work, right? And note that for yourself, because for example, what I do now with my mornings is I send emails, I might meal prep for the day, I might go for my walk, I might do stuff so I'm still productive, right? But I have freed up now my afternoon and my evenings to do my actual schoolwork because I have cleared out all those other little tasks and things in the morning. So this is really good to know about yourself, right? And that can also help dictate your sleep schedule, like when you want to wake up and not. How much workload can you truly handle in a day, right? And make education your priority. So if you are putting other things right over your education, sometimes you end up being too exhausted to do the work that you need to do, and it's already exhausting to work from home. So I think it's a balance, right? Cal students are super ambitious, right? That got you into Cal. But, every time you feel like, oh, I have a free hour, right? Or I have a free little bit of my life. Oh, that means I should be doing something else. So I can fit something else into my life. And while that, could be true, you don't want to overextend yourself, right? Because you also need to budget in time to rest. So we always suggest that you pick your number per semester. So for example, 5 things you're going to do or 6 things, right? So let's say you do that and you have 4 classes and now you only have 2 spaces left for something, right? And you're a part of, an affinity group. Now you have space for one more thing in your life. And what is that going to be? Because you also need to budget in, right, your social time, your time to rest, your self-care, all that kind of stuff. So once you've hit your limit, then you say no to everything else. And that's just a way of preserving yourself, of knowing your limits. So everyone's number is different, but if you're out here like, oh, I'm going to do 30, like, you know what I mean? It has to be within, 2 hands. Primarily, not 10. Okay, so workstation from home. You may need to reorganize some things around to make the workspace, within our current position of working and living at home. So for example, I have brought my desk out into my living room. As you can see, my living room is in the background. And that was because, I could not have my desk right next to my bed. It was just not going to work for me, and we had the space for it, so I did that. Other people have had to, shuffle some things around, right? And that might be possible, right? It's a temporary layout, it's a temporary situation. So just try and think, like, if you have been completely tempted by your bed or the sofa, think about what space is available to you and try and make the best out of what you have, right? So even if you can't maybe work in a different space, try your best not to work on your bed. Now, I know that it is a privilege, obviously, to have like a separate working space. So if you do need to work on your bed, try and do things that will not entice you to fall asleep. So, maybe it means like removing all the comfy pillows off your bed and like putting them in the closet, or it means making your bed so that you can't just slip under the covers, or whatever the case may be, right? Try and make your workspace a place that you want to be, right? So I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 plants on my desk because, as you can see, I have a lot of plants. So I sit here and I am surrounded by my plants that I love. I have all my fun little pens and markers here. I'm by a window, which is really important for me. Some people are big Post-it people. Like, they love to put like quotes on there, and then, just put that in front of like your workstation to like keep inspiring yourself. Or, like maybe you want to bring your favorite chair over, or I don't know, you could do a DIY project and, you know, help decorate your chair and make it look a little cuter, you know, order some fabric or, you know, whatever the case may be. And then, you know, you want to make sure that when you're sitting at your desk or wherever you're working, ideally, right, if there is the ability to do this, that you somehow you can signal that this is your workstation and it's not like your social station, right? So when I'm sitting here at my desk, I don't do social things. I only do work-related things. And the things on my desk are only work-related things outside of my plants. So if that's like, for you, a place in your bedroom, you know, maybe that means you have like a little makeshift desk thing. So when you put that on your bed, right, you're like, okay, I'm working. And again, it's all about the mindset. It's all about the discipline that you have about signaling to yourself, I'm sitting down. I have my 3 hours. I have my Pomodoro. I have all my materials. I'm gonna do my best. It's just 3 hours. And when the 3 hours are up, boop, I have the rest of the day for myself, kind of thing, you know? We have some videos about this on the L&S Mentor website, which I can show a little bit later. So setting up goals and tasks, right? Again, this goes back to like knowing your limits. It can be really overwhelming to manage the things that you need to do while you're at home. In the beginning of the semester, you want to input all of your tasks, right? Because you've received your syllabi and you know when your stuff's due. And it can be a little bit tedious, but putting all of it in your BCal with reminders, right, is one of the best things that you can do for yourself, because you know you're not going to let anything slide and you won't forget. You've put reminders, right? And then you can see when you open your BCal all the things that you've got going on that you need to do, right? So you get a good sense of what your week is going to look like. Oh, this week has a little bit more assignments. This week's a little bit more casual. Oh, my midterm's coming up in 2 weeks. So I have to start budgeting in some study time, right, to kind of scaffold it for the 2 weeks before my midterm or whatever the case may be. So, you know, you have your, you know, entire semester kind of put there, but instead of always looking at that, again, forward thinking, you want to be able, because you know it's a marathon. Y'all have been, you know, in school long enough to understand that, you know, you can't burn yourself out right from the jump. So one way that that can be really helpful, right, to just focus on the now and making sure that you're not trying to overwhelm yourself too much with the big picture sometimes, is to set up a short daily task list. And that's what I do. I have this little notepad that stays right here. Again, work stuff stays on your work desk. And I'll do a daily to-do list. And now instead of being out here like, I will write the draft of my paper, I will read 5 chapters, I will send those emails, that is untangible. And while it can be nice to like shoot for the stars, it's one day. And you know that feeling when you look and you've only crossed one thing off your to-do list, even though you knew that you were shooting for the stars, you're going to be like, oh, well, shit, like, what did I do with my day? You know, and then those negative feelings can creep in. If you set yourself up for success on your small task list, because every task is a task that took effort. Nothing is small, right? Especially working from home. So if you set it up like, I will send 1 email, right? I will read, you know, at least 20 pages. If you read more, amazing, but you read at least 20 pages of something, you showed up for class, that's a task, right? Like, then you can make sure that you're setting yourself up to cross off almost everything, if not all things on your list. And that makes you feel good. And that's part of the point, right? And then, you know, you have your BCal with your weekly to-dos that it can be like a reference for you, right? So listening to music is really helpful, especially when you're sharing space with folks and there can be a lot of ambient and you know, other miscellaneous kinds of sounds and noises that can distract you, right? Always keep a pair of headphones at your work desk if possible, you know, and try to leave them here, because these things get lost so easily that you just kind of want to, if possible, have a pair for here. And so, you know, for some people, listening to lyrics can be distracting, and you don't want the music to take over, right? So you don't want to listen to a soundtrack that you're like, I can't work right now. You're like, I got to get up and jam. Like, you can save that for your breaks. You can save that for your time off, but you want to listen to something that's actually going to, you know, calm you down, bring your attention to what you're doing, and not perhaps your roommates or anything else that's going on for you, right? So if that, you know, classical is not your thing, just try and find the genre that works best for you. And, you know, you don't have to tell nobody. It's just you study music, so don't feel any kind of way about it. And it's what you need. So if you like listening to, I don't know, the sound of the ocean, like, do you? Drink your water. So I've been noticing this for myself, and now I'm much better about it. But like in the beginning, right, because I wasn't going to my gym classes, I wasn't walking all over campus and doing all my stuff, I was not drinking enough water as I usually was, right? So this is huge. Okay, I can't emphasize enough about you drinking water. Have one the first thing when you wake up. If you can't remember, you know, have it on your little daily to-do list, right? So you can start checking off the cups of water that you have. Have one with each meal. Even if you're like, I don't like water, just plug your nose and drink the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need it, and it's going to help keep you just feeling better about yourself, right? Caring for your body. Movement. So in the beginning, we kind of mentioned that, you know, a lot of y'all are trying to be active, at least, you know, 1 to 3 times a week to start, right? Ideally, you would want to end up at the 3 times a week, if not, you know, 4 or 5. You don't want to force an exercise that feels painful or is pushing you, because I know, like for me, for example, I've lost some of the, you know, stamina that I had before. So I'm not going to try and like do a million burpees when I'm like, you know, can only do like 5 or 10 with proper form. Do that, you know what I mean? And if anything's hurting, you need to stop. But, you know, yoga is a nice thing that you can do. They have plenty of things on YouTube. I'm sure y'all know, Instagram. If nothing else, just walking is a wonderful option. And so I have actually been doing this. I've been reading while walking in the apartment or just standing. It's a good way to move your body and keep you focused. Like if you're feeling your attention drifting, it can be a nice way for you to get some steps in even though you're in the house. Stretching during study breaks is a nice thing to kind of just be in touch with your body, especially if you start to feel yourself like drifting, you're getting a little anxious. Just like coming back to the basics, centering yourself is really nice. Okay. So sleep schedule, one of the biggest differences is one's ability to focus if they've been sleeping or not, right? Have you been resting? When we sleep is when our brains, you know, are like really absorbing all the material and making connections. So this can be so hard. I mean, trust, in the beginning of quarantine, I was doing Netflix binges until 3 a.m. And I had to stop, right? Because then I still had to wake up at like 9 in the morning and I got 6 hours of sleep and I'm exhausted, right? So setting up a sleep routine, if you don't already have one, can be like, you know, washing your face, journaling, you know, praying if that's something you do, a face mask, you know, listening to ambient music. So I have like the steps that I take to get myself ready to go to bed. And that seems like, oh yeah, I'm just getting ready for bed, but it's really signaling to your body like we are going to bed. So it helps you start to get into that mode of like relaxing, the day is done, you know, that kind of stuff. Obviously be realistic, right? Have a range of bedtime. So like I say to myself, if I can go to bed between like midnight and 1 a.m. right now, I'm doing good, right? If I see that it's like 1 a.m. and I still haven't put myself to sleep, I'm like, okay, you need to get it together and you need to start getting yourself around, right? And then wake up roughly around the same time, even if you don't have class that morning, because again, it's about building that like rhythm inside your body. If you're having trouble falling asleep, you know, I put lavender, I have like a spray, I put it on my pillow, that helps me so much. A sleep mask can help, because sometimes it can just calm your eyes, because sometimes like if you're anxious, you might like constantly open your eyes and feel like, oh, I can't fall asleep like right away. Chamomile tea is another one that you can take to help yourself feel calm and ready for sleep. And the exercise will help with this too. So cell phones and sleep. This is really, really, really hard. I understand. I know. And I'm always trying to practice what I preach. So it's best to try and set your alarm and leave your phone on airplane or bedtime mode if you have an iPhone. So that's what I do. And so then when I'm like trying to fall asleep and I'm tempted to just grab my phone and I see it says the bedtime, right? And I can't see any notifications, I'm getting into like the discipline of just then putting my phone back down and be like, that's right, it's bedtime. Don't go into your phone. You want to try and like not be on your phone anywhere from like 5 to 15 minutes before you're trying to fall asleep. Even if you are in bed and you are like, okay, one last like check of like my email because I'm waiting for an email from my professor or something like that. You know, everything is going to be there in the morning. And very often, right, this can be like a kind of like coping mechanism, right? When we're stressed, when we're anxious and that kind of thing. So being aware of why you're scrolling is important. And try not to like wake up and first thing you do is grab your phone, right? Because then we're already overloading ourselves with new news, right? With new obligations, with a bunch of friends who are texting us and we haven't gotten back to them yet. And you're already setting yourself up. Remember the gratitude and the mindset? You're setting yourself up for being like completely overwhelmed and you just woke up. So instead, right, that practice of waking up, you know, maybe doing a quick little stretch or whatever, have that glass of water and say your gratitude and then go and check your phone, right? It's about these practices. So how to recognize stress, right? Like, do you ever suddenly feel hot, have stomach pains, you know, feeling absolutely annoyed or generally down? So like, you know, when you're stressed, your blood pressure rises, which makes you, you know, feel warmer. It's also like when you're giving a presentation, you know, sometimes you'll feel like you're going to get red in the face or whatever. That's stress, right? Feeling nauseous or having any kind of upset stomach stuff can very often be a sign of stress. And so, you know, stress takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on your mental. Being aware of how, you know, stress signals for you, because it's different in everybody, can help you be aware of like, okay, I'm stressed in this moment. What has happened in this day? You know, what are the things that have just, you know, occurred? And start to try and figure out like, what are some of the things that cause you stress? And if you're like, the world is causing you stress, well, of course. But are you taking in too much news, right? Like that's part of that social media thing, right? And I had to delete my Facebooks because I was taking in too much news and I was feeling stressed a lot. And it's not about being insensitive and about being uninformed, for sure. But if you check the news one time of day, you're probably going to know all the stuff versus like if you keep checking it multiple times or every other day. Like I don't need my Facebook because that was the main place where I was getting a lot of news coming through. And so that's just one thing for you all to kind of just keep in mind and try and be honest with yourself about, right? So yeah, like I said, you want to kind of figure out where it is that you feel, how you feel stressed, so that you know, okay, this is stress versus like, oh, maybe I ate something that wasn't good, or oh, maybe, you know, like I'm on my period and like that's what's going on and maybe I need to take a little Advil or something like that. You know what I mean? So like it's really important to be attuned to your body and know how you feel things and what can kind of trigger certain stuff for you, and then figure out how you can build some boundaries around that. Because then once you're aware of something, you know that you need to address it instead of just being like, I can avoid, it's stress, I know it's stress, and just like, I've identified it, but you keep doing the same things, right? Okay, so here are some resources that are really nice. You know, deep breathing and relaxation is great. So like for my anxiety, one of the things that I do is deep breathing, and I'll try and focus while I'm doing that on the list of the gratitude that I have, right? Anyways, I know that y'all are recording this, so you can check these out a little bit later. I wanted to just kind of put this here in case y'all are not aware of CAPS. They're still doing their services virtually, so it's a great thing for you to all tap in on, right? And again, destigmatizing mental health. You know, we all are dealing with things. We all need help to one extent or another. And, you know, seeking out what you need for you is self-care. It is you taking care of yourself. And I just, you know, recently got a therapist because I think for so long I was like, you have to tough it out. You know, you can't admit that you're having a hard time. Like, you know, all those sorts of like things that we tell ourselves, especially, you know, if you're a minority, you know, there's the stuff you have to be excellent, you know, you can't be suffering, you can't be struggling or whatever. And I think a lot of that's been changing, but sometimes we can dip back into those, you know, rhetorics, right? So do what you need for you. And if you want to talk about, you know, anything, I think just giving them a call and just having like an initial chat is a good first step if you're not sure. So self-care, right? A lot of times, you know, the folks who feel like I have to take everything on myself or I have to take care of others first, right? And then I'll take care of me. They kind of leave this to the wayside. And if you're not good, how can you help somebody else, right? If you're not good, how can you show up for things, right? It all starts here with us. So that's also about the boundaries, right? All of those things that we talked about essentially is getting back to the you, right? Making sure that you're good, right? So, you know, take the nap that you need, unplug from social media and go outside, right? Like leave your phone at home and go for the walk or whatever. Engage in your hobbies a few times a week. Like if you, I don't know, crochet or whatever, you know, set a timer for 30 minutes and do the thing. If you doodle, do it, you know, read comics. Set a little timer and put that in your BCal. That's part of your schedule. That's part of your time management, is making sure that you make time for you. You know, and do those special things for yourself and don't worry about nobody else, right? Like if you did your makeup and you take a selfie, you know, did a little photo shoot at home and you post a picture, don't worry about like, oh, where are you going or anything that someone might say. Just be like, you know, I did this for fun, for myself, you know. So setting up regular activities with your community is also part of this, right? So a weekly series or movie night, sharing a meal over Zoom if your friends are far and wide in this world, social distance picnics or walks, phone chat while going for a walk can be nice, right? And that can be a bit of a break from the screen stuff. Instead of FaceTiming all the time, just an old school call sometimes can be really nice. Or an old school, right, snail mail. You could send letters to folks, and that again is a nice way to get back to being off your screen if you're on paper, right? I know some friends who have been doing book clubs, and that's fun, or book exchanges, which is cute. Community meals, if you live with other folks, sometimes we're all on such different schedules, but if you can plan a few times a month to do a community meal, it's just really nice to be able to eat again with folks. I know that that's a big thing for me. So that is all that I have to share with you all, because I wanted to make sure that there's some time for chat and Q&A. So I'm not sure if I should stop screen sharing so we can all see each other or not, but you just let me know how we should move forward. I was wondering if we could drop the link for the L&S mentor drop-in to talk about grad school and more. Yeah, definitely. Let me just see really fast. Okay. I am horrible at Zoom. Hold on. I was going to try and put you on the website. Hold up. Okay, does everyone see the website page? Yes. Yes, okay. So this is our website, and if you want to know more, like we have the rest of the webinars that we're giving for the semester. We have a Black Lives Matter statement. We have tips, and this is a really nice little graphic for practicing breathing techniques if you aren't familiar with that yet. So that's our homepage. But yeah, if you want to know more about the other mentors, then you can come here and hear all our lovely faces with little bios, which is nice. So you can kind of see, like, for example, Leslie is interested, right, in majors and courses in arts, underrepresented minority students, imposter syndrome, building community on and off campus. So you can kind of see, like, we all work on the same kinds of things, but some folks are more interested in some topics than others, right? So then if you want to make an appointment with us, you can go to mentoring sessions. And it'll kind of explain to you, like, whether this is a question that you have for, actually belongs for a mentor, an advisor, again, mentor or career counseling, CAPS. And here are our office hours, and then you just click book an appointment, and then you can make an appointment with us. And you can come as much or as little as you want. You can meet with more than one mentor at the same time. Like, you can come meet with me, and then you could say, oh, I want to go get an opinion from, Leslie on the same thing. Like, that's totally fine. Or you want to talk about different things with different folks. Like, that's totally cool. So what I was mentioning before about the tips, oh, why is it so slow? Okay. So on the video and media library, we are posting the webinars. So if you couldn't make it, they will be here. And then we have videos of study tips. And then we have some graphic study tips. So here's study and work from home tips. And then we have some self-care ones down here for folks. And I keep making new ones. So, come back and always just kind of see, because there's always new content, and we'll be making more video things as semester progresses. It's our new kind of initiative, is making more video materials. So, oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, so then what we have here also, which can be helpful for folks, is under their resources tab. My internet is so slow. Hold on. Okay, so under the resources tab, we have like community well-being. So a lot of stuff right now related to, activism, Black Lives Matter, things like that. We have some basic needs information for folks who are, like this one, for example, in the Bay Area. This one is really great. I just updated this today. So the mental health handbook, the golden folder under emotional health and well-being. Some academic stuff, exercise and nutrition. So RSF is doing online fitness classes, which is kind of cool. Financial wellness, family care. So yeah, anyways, there's a bunch of stuff on our website, and yeah, just poke around on there. I'm always trying to make it better.